Namaskar, hello and welcome viewers. You're watching this special presentation of Sansad TV, Bills and Acts, where we analyze bills that impact you, acts that empower you, and programs that matter to you. I'm your host Kriti Mishra, and today the spotlight is on the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. The IBC Code was the best measure for banks to recover bad loans in financial year 2023. So before the analysis, let's take a look at the highlights. The Code creates time-bound processes for insolvency resolution of companies and individuals. If insolvency cannot be resolved, the assets of the borrowers may be sold to repay the creditors. The resolution process is conducted by licensed insolvency professionals. The National Company Law Tribunal adjudicates insolvency resolution for companies. Well, in 2016, at a time when India's non-performing assets and debt defaults were piling up, and older loan recovery mechanisms such as the SARFAESI Act, Lok Adalats and debt recovery tribunals were seen to be underperforming, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code was introduced to overhaul the corporate distress resolution regime in India and consolidate previously available laws to create a time-bound mechanism with a creditor-in-control model as opposed to the debtor-in-possession system. And for deeper insights on the code, I'm joined by an illustrious panel of guests. Joining us in the studio, Mr. Justice M.M. Kumar, former President, NCLT. Also joining us, Dr. Sasmit Patra, Member Parliament. He represents the BJD. I welcome both of you to Sansad TV and thank you so much for joining us. And Justice Kumar, let me begin the program with you. Now, IBC is almost 6-year-old. Sir, you've played a pivotal role being the President of the NCLT. How do you look at the journey today and the achievements?
As in the introductory remark, it has been pointed out that non-performing assets of the country were blooming. Estimated was 11.5 lakh crore. The budget of the state of UP is about 6 lakh crore. So two states like UP were under stress. Budget of states like Punjab is something like 3 lakh crore. Haryana 2.85 lakh crore. So you can imagine the type of money which was struck and was not being utilized, and what was the impact on the economy. 11.5 lakh crore in 2016. How to get this money out was a big challenge. The regime which was prevailing in 2016 prior to the enactment of IBC was not able to effectively perform to rescue the stress assets. As a result, IBC on 1st of December 2016 was enacted. I was already working as a President of National Company Law Tribunal from June 2016, and heavy responsibility came on the shoulders of this tribunal, because the Honorable Prime Minister and the then Finance Minister Shri Arun Jaitley, they played pivotal and leading role in ensuring that NCLT works independently, NCLT works with great efficiency, and infrastructure was provided very, very quickly, and NCLT came up as a tribunal of reliability, efficiency, as the blog written by the Finance Minister himself have said. So by the time I left in January 2020, we were able to resolve something like 6 lakh crore NPA, 6 lakh crore. But thereafter, COVID engulfed the world and India again fell into the NPA, and the estimation of NPA today, figures are not available, but it must be very, very high. So the journey which has started in December 2016, I can share with you there were 12 ticket cases. Those 12 ticket cases were bad, dirty dozen cases, which were comprised of Bhushan Steel, Bhushan Power and Steel, Electro Steel, JP Infra, ERA Infra, all those. Now RBI has come out with 24 cases, published a list of 24 big cases. And I must share with you the impact of IBC. When I decided Bhushan Steel cases, a group of 3 cases, the Mr. Arun Jaitley, the then finance minister, shared with me, Mr. Kumar, have you seen the Financial Times of today? I said, sir, I don't get time. He said, after your order in Bhushan Steel cases, rupee has gained 42 paisa against dollar. That was the impact.
Imagine.
Because we were able to rescue the stress assets and were able to introduce to performing assets. So this was the impact on the economy. Such is the impact of this measure. Earlier, for 10 years the matter is going on. IBC played another, you see, it was a game changer in the sense, earlier borrower will continue to be in possession.
That's right.
IBC, after IBC, the policy of the law is that borrower, you kindly get aside. Now let the new regime, new management under the resolution professional conduct the affairs of the company.
And thank you so much for putting things in perspective for us. But Dr. Patra, do you think that IBC has changed the debtor-creditor relationship because perhaps there's this constant fear of losing the enterprise and repaying the debtors?
You see, IBC, as Justice Kumar has said, has been an extremely important piece of legislation that has really enabled business in India. Having said that, while the debtor-creditor relationship, or rather we should say the operational creditor and the operation debtor, going by section 7 and 8 of the considered legislation, has been very clearly defined, I think the key area has also been regarding IBC, the degree of haircuts that have really happened when companies have gone under the IBC and have been trying to find out how best they can again rejuvenate their companies. One of the key area in the relationship between the debtor-creditor is that the role of the IP professional, the IR professional, the resolution professional, and the resolution professional's role in this matter has been extremely crucial. So much so that because the resolution professional actually constitutes the committee of creditors, the COC, and there has been a bit of criticism about the COC as well, which the Honorable Supreme Court has very rightly mentioned that the wisdom of the COC shall not be questioned. Why it is necessary is sometimes operational, because we have got 2 sections in this. One is the financial creditors, one are the operational creditors. Right. Financial, for those who are uninitiated into it, are those who are banks and financial institutions. Operational are those that are like employees, etc., part of the process. So COCs primarily comprise mainly of the financial creditors usually, because the resolution professional's idea is to, however, try to ensure that the funds that are actually stuck, they get back, and it's again rejuvenated into a new enterprise through a new management process. Having said that, the debtor-creditor relationship, of course, has undergone a change, and there were certain legislations like SURFACE.
Right.
Now, SURFACE was more, I would to use it as a term as draconian, because it just meant about wrapping up the whole thing and salvaging it and just selling it as a junk value.
That's true. Here,
the idea under IBC has been somehow to survive, sustain, and under a new management to progress and grow. So in that sense, as you rightly mentioned, the creditor-debtor relationship has undergone a change. But I would say under supervised monitoring. And the supervised monitoring is under the RP, resolution professional, and under the COC, which provides the wisdom of doing it. In that sense, we do not lose shareholder value. In that, we don't become a junk company, that we are only a salvage value. And there is also opportunity, let's say a company is in a specific niche area.
That's right.
And it's into R&D, it's got innovation, it's got patents. And there's a possibility of monetizing it going forward instead of shutting shop, because then the patents just go bad. In that sense, IBC has been extremely crucial in protecting that intellectual capital and again reinvesting it back through a new enterprise. But there has also been, certain criticism in terms of the process.
Right.
For example, the idea of NCLT itself is to declog the judicial process. If all the alternate dispute resolution processes like the NCLT, NCLAT, thereafter, I'll give you a very small example and I'll just try to wrap up the statement. The Tata Cyrus Mistry case. The Tata Cyrus Mistry case is a classical example that it took so much of time in NCLT, went to NCLAT, and ultimately landed up in Supreme Court.
Right.
So if all the tribunal awards are going to end up in the Supreme Court, then the alternate dispute resolution process itself will just be adding to the clogging of the judicial process.
Precisely. Very, very important point raised there by Member Parliament and Justice Kumar. I'd like you to address that. Where are we addressing that very crucial aspect of pendency of cases?
Initially, if you study the code, there was a mechanism provided. An agency was conceived in the code which will list all the accounts which are NPS, and that agency will give notice to the defaulter seeking its explanation if they have anything to say, because bank has given the statement of account. In the statement of account, they have been found to be defaulter, NPA account. So the after notice, either they dispute it or they accept it. So if they accept it, then judicial notice could have been taken, and within 15 days of the filing of petition by the financial institution like bank, the petition could have been admitted. But this utility service, which is the agency conceived in the code, it took many years. It was not able to function. Even today, it is functioning, but it is not being taken in the spirit conceived in the code. Now, naturally, if somebody goes to the court, bank goes to the court, NCLT, saying that this man is defaulter by 248 crores, opportunity of hearing has to be given.
That's right.
If utility services are functioning properly, opportunities stand given already. The judicial process would take very little time. On account of non-functioning of utility services, this delay has started happening. But even then, having said that, 330 days is the optimum limit put, 330 days. And 330 days, even 330 days are not being adhered to.
Precisely my point, sir. Precisely.
And reason, there is lack of understanding of IBC. Once Supreme Court have said that wisdom of the COC is not to be questioned,
Right.
only on legal issues, because the economic issue, financial issues or other administrative issues have been gone through by COC. If you look at the judgment in Bhushan Steel, in record time, the case was decided. It was about 150 or 52 days. 52 days. Reason, the COC has taken a decision and we only examined shortly, is there any legal flaw? Is there any express violation of any of the provision? Particularly when resolution professional has sworn in an affidavit saying that there is no legal violation by the resolution plan furnished by the resolution applicant.
Correct.
As approved by the COC.
Correct.
So once that is the position, then things can be quickened. So we need to strengthen these utility services, one. Secondly, the COC should also function more efficiently. The members nominated on the COC, they take time and to go back to their bosses to seek approval.
Correct.
They go back, discuss.
Yes.
Right.
Once COC is discussing the issue, then why they should unnecessarily? Then RP has a crucial role. So I was wondering that how the things can be balanced in order to meet the timeline. In order to meet the timeline, I think there should be, I have written letters during my period that every member should decide not less than 150 cases per month. And result was good, although they were not able to reach 150, but they reached quite a bit. So somebody has to make efforts.
That's true.
And for making those efforts, continuous education is also required.
So this is a very important aspect, of course, delays and the pendency of cases. But Dr. Patra, let me flag another important concern, which is, of course, the infrastructure. Do we have enough trained professionals? And of course, the answer is no. Then how do we overcome the situation?
See, I won't only limit it within infrastructure in terms of professionals. In fact, I must applaud Justice Kumar, because with very little resources, he not only established the way NCLT as we know today and harnessed the power of IBC under NCLT and NCLAT, but he also established about 25 or 26 benches of NCLT across the country. To do that with no resources itself is a great hats off to him for his performance and his efficiency. And I just hope and wish that going forward it is emulated more and more. So that would be one thing. Secondly, I would like you to draw your attention to a Parliamentary Standing Committee report of the Finance Committee on IBC, in which they had specifically mentioned about the need for an academy, like you have ICAI, Indian Chartered Accountants Institute. Similarly, one for resolution professionals who are especially trained and focused on that. Apart from that, I would like to flag two more issues, and I hope the government is listening. One is that even today, on rented buildings, you have NCLT benches operating. Not less than the NCLAT, which is operating out of a rented building of the Ministry of Communications.
That's true.
Where lawyers and advocates have to carry thick files across half a kilometer to get to that place. That's a reality today. Second, vacancies in the NCLT benches. Now, if you see, there are two kinds of appointments that are done. One is the technical committee members, which is done through the ministry. The second is done through the judicial process.
Right.
Now, in many times what you happen is the judicial members, so are under Ministry of Law and Justice. And the other part that is there, they are under Ministry of Corporate Affairs.
Right.
Now, the thing is, how can you have one bench or one organization or one element of this entire process, 50% of it managed by the Ministry of Law and Justice, the other 50% and the Ministry of Corporate Affairs.
Right.
And then you house a semi-judicial or a tribunal body under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, not under the Ministry of Law and Justice. So I think those are some elemental issues that are there, that if matters from NCLT, NCLAT were to move to the Supreme Court, which is a judicial process, but the lower end of this part is under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Right. I think there is a dichotomy there, one. The second thing is, in terms of benches, I mean, to my humble opinion, whatever I'm aware of, at times it so happens because of vacancies in the benches in the various states. A bench, let's say for Chennai, is sitting in the morning for Chennai, in the afternoon is doubling as the bench for Mumbai.
Right, right.
So when you have those practical issues where a bench is unable to focus on one specific terrain and area, or let's say I come from the state of Odisha, we have lesser matters there. So the bench which is sitting in Bhubaneswar is actually becoming the bench for, let's say, Indore in the second half.
That's right.
I think then it takes away from the idea of a focused approach. So I'm hopeful that the government will look at also these utility issues, because we cannot harness IBC. IBC is an amazing act.
That's true.
And very rightly mentioned by Srimati Nirmala Sitharamanji in October last year, when she addressed this issue. And she said that, no, we should not lose the sheen of IBC.
Yes, yes.
Especially when we are going into becoming such a $5 trillion economy, and we need to harness and ensure that credit lines are always there and pumped back, rather than the organization failing because of a lack of credit.
Absolutely.
All of this can be done, but we have to also have utilities.
All right, so those are very valid suggestions, Justice Kumar. What needs to be changed going ahead, and how do we further strengthen this court?
You see, infrastructure issue, as mentioned by Dr. Patra, I think where it has to be imbibed. I was Chief Justice Jammu and Kashmir. Flood scheme, the government of the state refused to give me any area to run the High Court. So I told them that a judge doesn't need much. A chair and table, paper, pen. So I used to give this example to my members, that don't fight with your tools. Whatever is available, you can do very well, because it was not such a bad situation which I faced in Jammu and Kashmir.
Correct.
That's true.
So I was able to convince them that look at me, I can manage the High Court where there were 14 judges, and I was able to hold the court even during flood when every department closed.
That's true.
So that was one thing. So infrastructure, of course, is an issue which should be looked into. But I must say that the selection process of technical members and the judicial member is consolidated. It is one process, sir. There is no duality. Supreme Court judge heads a committee accompanied by another judge, then there are other members.
Right.
You see, if we want to strengthen the IBC, I think the first step is to ensure that how to make the company under distress as a going concern, to make it as a going concern. The object of the IBC is the restructuring and not to wipe out the company from the corporate world.
Right.
You see, if a company, a directors who are the entrepreneur, if they are wiped out from the system, you cannot produce many entrepreneurs.
That's right.
If you give me 100 rupee expecting me that it will multiply to 150, I will not be able to. But if you give it to an entrepreneur, you say, sir, forget, I will make 200 out of 100. So we need entrepreneur. This country, I think our Prime Minister has adopted a positive approach toward the entrepreneur. And he has an eye for such like entrepreneur. So when I look at those who are subjected to corporate insolvency resolution process, and they are nowhere now. No bank is prepared to give them loan because they are either liquidated, insolvent, an insolvent entity or a person, is not eligible for many things. And therefore, there can be rehabilitation of such like entrepreneur.
Right,
Let
sir.
us not lose out of those 24 cases which RBI has listed.
Right.
The entrepreneur of those companies, very experienced people, we must ensure that they come back in mainstream. Pre-pack.
Yes, sir.
In MSME section, we have introduced pre-pack. But in other sector, there is no pre-pack. Pre-pack is also, their borrower remains in possession, but makes an alternative arrangement.
That's
that
true.
in case there is a stress, there is a default, then some other financial resource will pool in the sources and will start the business as a going concern,
Right,
rather
sir.
than sending them into insolvency.
Right.
So pre-pack is also very laudable method of resolving the disputes and also balancing the conflicting interest.
Absolutely, sir. Sir, I'm completely out of time, but thank you so much for sharing those finer details with us. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Patra and Justice Kumar. The IBC has helped India improve its ease of doing business, ranking to 63rd position in 2019 as against 77 in 2018. Under the resolving insolvency parameter, the rank improved to 52 from 108. Well, viewers, that's all we could pack for you in this edition. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Sansad TV. Goodbye for now from my side.